Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Red Donkey Projections. I'm Eric and we have Lucas as always.
Hey everyone.
Today is May 21st, 2021, and today we are going to be covering the 2022 Senate race in Florida. And we're going to be talking about the Democratic candidates for the primary, and we're going to be talking about incumbent Marco Rubio and how he holds up in the state of Florida. And then we're going to be talking about the impact of this race and the significance it will display depending on which direction it will go into.
Right, and in particular, we're going to be discussing about how Democrats were able to get Val Demings, who was a pretty good candidate to run here. And we'll be discussing, first of all, can she win the primary? And second of all, can she beat Marco Rubio? And with that being said, let's get right into it. All right, let's discuss Florida in general. So, obviously, it's a very huge battleground state, but recently we have been seeing it trending more and more to the right, especially seen in the 2020 presidential election. It's swung, you know, I think a point or so to the right, despite polls showing, Biden was going to win the state. It did end up trending to the right, especially because of President Trump's strength with Latinos. And we're going to be discussing that with Marco Rubio as well, because it does apply. So, let's first discuss, let's skip the Republican primary because it is pretty obvious here that Marco Rubio is going to win that primary. Let's discuss the Democratic primary because this is a little bit interesting here. It's likely going to be a Val Demings versus Stephanie Murphy primary. They both have announcements pending. They're both currently U.S. representatives. Let's go in depth first into Val Demings. Eric, if you want to explain her.
Yeah, sure. So she has a pretty involved career. So she used to be police chief at Orlando, and she serves Florida's 10th district, which also is in the Orlando area. She was also towards the top for then President or candidate Biden's pick for vice president. There was some chance that she was going to get picked, but it wasn't certain. But she definitely made the list significantly. She is a pretty moderate Democrat. She's part of the New Democratic Party, but you'll be surprised that her opponent in the Democratic primary is more moderate than her. So let's take a look at Stephanie Murphy.
So yeah, Stephanie Murphy is also more of a moderate candidate. She is, I believe, slightly more to the right of Val Demings. She's actually one of the chairs of the Blue Dog Caucus, which is the most moderate, or rather most conservative, uh, Democratic caucus in the House. She describes herself as a capitalist. She supports a balanced budget amendment, which most Democrats, I believe, don't really support that. And she does seem to have a lot of bipartisanship. She is pretty bipartisan, working with the other caucus and, police reform. She does want sweeping police reform. And she is more of, that in the middle Democrat. So let's talk about if if running a moderate here, running Stephanie Murphy here would be better than running a more liberal candidate like Val Demings. But the interesting thing is this, and I spoke with God of Politics with him about this, and he's a good friend of us. You can visit his channel in the description. I'll leave a link down there. And he made an interesting insight saying that, in Florida, you're running like a ticket. You're running a candidate for governor, and you're also running a candidate for the Senate, and you kind of run it like a ticket. So, for example, in 2018, and we discussed this in our video as well, we Democrats ran Bill Nelson for Senate, and they ran Andrew Gillum for governor. And you can watch what we said in the video about this as well. We said this in our part two of in 2018. Yeah, by the way, part three is going to be coming out very soon. It's me and Joe Donnelly. But uh, back to the point is that you're running a ticket. So you might want to run a progressive for one office and run a moderate for the second office. For example, in 2018, for governor, they ran Andrew Gillum, who was a more progressive, more liberal type of candidate. On the other hand, they ran Bill Nelson, who was more of a centrist candidate for the Senate seat. And the goal was for, Nelson to pick up those centrist voters and then also Gillum to excite that progressive base to vote for Nelson as well. Ultimately, it didn't really end up working out that well because although the race did come very close, they did end up losing. So one strategy Democrats could take here is if at the moment it doesn't look like Charlie Crist is going to be winning the Republican nomination, the Democratic nomination for governor. He's a very moderate Democrat. His Second Amendment political positions are very, very moderate, and a lot of his positions are centrist or even conservative at times. He was a former Republican when he was governor of Florida, so uh, Democrats could end up doing better if they were to run Val Demings as the Senate pick, because this way you have someone to excite the more liberal parts of Florida.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add into this that no, this theory could work, but as we've seen in 2018, you can't solely rely on this, theory, because that's exactly what Bill Nelson did. He really did not do anything himself to excite and mobilize any part of the Democratic Party that he could. So in 2022, there's a possibility that this could work, but especially with Florida leaning more to the right in recent years, they have to try extra hard to campaign in all of the counties that they can or that seems realistic, and really try to mobilize the party, because if they just sit around and do nothing and just rely on another candidate to attract a certain part of the Democratic Party, it's not really going to work, as seen in 2018.
Right, and I think Democrats have to work much harder in Miami-Dade County, and we'll be discussing that right now after we finish this slide. But especially Miami-Dade County, and I was kind of thinking about this. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And it's kind of that situation with Democrats. The first time they messed up in 2018 with Miami-Dade, they lost. Second time with Joe Biden, they lost Miami-Dade by an even greater margin. So perhaps this time they do learn their lesson that they have to campaign harder, a lot harder, in Miami-Dade to get that vote out, just like Hillary Clinton was able to do in 2016, to do as well as she did in Miami-Dade, which honestly it does look pretty unrealistic looking at it right now. So let's actually discuss the results from Rubio's 2016 election. This was running concurrent with the presidential election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. One glaring difference is Marco Rubio won by around 8 points, even though Donald Trump won the state by just over 1 percentage point. And let's go in depth county to county. Eric, if you want to start by describing the two patterns we saw that were interesting.
Right. So the first notable one, as Lucas touched upon, was Miami-Dade. So Hillary Clinton in 2016 she did very well in Miami-Dade with Hispanics, and she got around, I would say, like a 20 something point margin lead against Donald
Yeah, high
Trump.
20s.
Right. And here we see same year, but just the Senate race, that Marco Rubio managed to get that margin down to 11%. So that's like a 10 plus or minus couple of points um, point margin that Marco Rubio managed to get the margin down. And we have to assess who Marco Rubio is, because he is, I could say, like the most ideal candidate that Florida GOP could put up, because he is a Hispanic himself. He is not that controversial. There haven't been any glaring controversies around Marco Rubio. So, he appeals to the Hispanics and the Republican Party. Moving on to Duval County, that's the next county that's pretty critical in Florida. So we see how in Duval County, Marco Rubio won against Patrick Murphy by about like 16 points in Duval. But was it 16 points? Yeah, it was 16 points. And the thing is, Hillary Clinton came close. She didn't win, but she came very close. But Bill Nelson and President Joe Biden did win Duval County in very recent elections. So if the Democrats want to win the state of Florida in the Senate race, they do have to campaign in Duval County and solidify this place.
100%. And their main focus, though, should be Miami-Dade. They've got to get those Hispanic voters out again and supporting them again. They can't really, take them for granted like they might have done in the past before. So, what shot does Val Demings or Stephanie Murphy, for that matter, really have at winning? So, personally, I do think that Val Demings will win the Democratic nomination. It will be very, very close, but I think Val Demings will edge it out. So let's say Val Demings wins the nomination. And for sake of argument, we just put our predictions for the 2022 Senate election. You can check that other video out on our channel. So, what kind of impact would a Val Demings win have? First of all, that would be huge, and 100%. This is probably not going to happen. But if it were to happen, Democrats are 100% keeping the Senate and probably expanding it by 2 or 3 points. But I personally don't believe it will happen. I think it will end up going red. And I think I have this one as a lean. I think, as Eric said, best case scenario for Marco Rubio is a 4-point win about there because of his strengths in Miami-Dade and his strengths in Duval County. So we're gonna put this one red. Assuming it does go red, not much really changes. It's still pretty. I don't want to say likely, but the Democrats have a pretty good chance at still keeping the Senate. Even if Kristen was to run and they flipped the seat red, Pennsylvania, which we do think veteran will defeat, Sean Parnell, whoever Republicans run here, we think he will defeat them, and we're potentially going to see a pickup with Ron Johnson in Wisconsin as well. So overall, Florida does have a very big impact on the Senate election, especially if Democrats are able to win it, which I do not believe they will. And that does end the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching this episode. If you like this episode, please a like button. If you like our content, please subscribe. And we'll see you in our next episode tomorrow.
See ya.